Taskforce Kachka, who will talk about the current state of reforms in public financing. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I think that the last week in Ukraine was the week where the parliament worked. There was a lot of legislative news. This is not a plenary week for the parliament. There will be more news connected to the institutional development, to the executive power. During the weekend, we were impressed to see the start of the work of the National Police, the first graduation of the Police Academy, and I think that we should draw attention to other institutions which started to work last week and whose activity is no less important than the start of the work of the new patrol service. So on the 1st of July, last week, the practical everyday work was started by the Centers for Free Legal Aid. 4 of them started to work in Kyiv. There were ceremonious openings. There was a lot of information, but we'd like to draw your attention again to the significance and the major philosophy of these centers. They give an opportunity to all the non-protected strata of population to ask for legal help, which means that the judicial protection and legal protection is strength of people in the bodies of power, which means that the state actually helps people to use their rights even more actively, and the efficient work of these centers has to help in the formalization of the program, of the processes that, and to switch from paternalistic option when the state does solve the issues of the price for gas, to the state when people who need some help, they do help people to use a specialized legal help to protect all their judicial legal interests. So the start of the work of such centers is no less important than the other institutions, because they are aimed at strengthening of the efficiency of requests from the society to the state on the everyday level. And these our work in these centers everywhere in Ukraine, not only in Kyiv. Almost 100 of them are already working, and I hope that we will soon hold a briefing on them. Also in the beginning of July, they started the work to formalize the Institute on the Modernization of the Contents of Education. And this is an institution that works on the contents of the education that Ukrainians get, both on preschool and secondary level. And this institution is built along the modern lines of the formation of education. In other countries, there's a huge accent on the formation of programs of STEM clusters: science, technology, engineering, mathematics, also language courses, and the change of the ideology of education. So the question about when we get the change in the quality of education, these questions are addressed to this institute, and the fact that it is working and that they are in existence legally means that the ministry of science and education comes to the practical changes, and this will affect the contents of education in Ukraine and will bring our education closer to world standards. In more detail, this will be discussed at the sitting of the National Council for Reforms, and as a result, we will tell you more, and our bodies of state power are drawing the strategy. The Ministry for Agricultural Policy and Food have conducted a one-day seminar to discuss the strategy of agricultural politics in Ukraine until 2020, which assembled all the stakeholders in Ukraine, meaning representatives of the ministry and parliament and other bodies of executive power, business associations, and all the donors that are taking part in the formation of this strategy, which actually, what is different with this strategy from all the rest? They discussed the document which is already practically finished. It will be worked on to a less extent now, and it actually recognizes all the things that the Ministry for Agriculture already does. And it will also have to do with the deregulation and the adjustment of the legislation of Ukraine with the European Union's legislation, so that deviations are being removed. All the initiatives today do coincide with the strategic vision for the nearest future. So these are the new. This is the news about Monday. We will inform you over the week. If you have any suggestions about the topics that should be covered, please address us, and we will be happy to help you. Thank you, Taras. If there are any questions, we will be able, we can answer. Any questions?
Rotman, and I'm from the Atlantic magazine. Mr. Kachka, I have a question regarding trade. Is there any trade happening right now between Ukraine and the self-proclaimed DPR in the eastern region? And if so, could you tell me what kind of trade is happening, if it's food or coal or energy resources? Thank you.
Щодо правового режиму торгівлі з територіями, де проводиться антитерористична операція, цей правовий режим визначається низкою обмежень, які пов'язані з безпекою, тобто питання з безпеки обігу, як раз.
It's about the limitations on linked to security issues. There is no special regime of trade. There are limitations put on the turnover of products linked to the measures of security and control on the movement of transport and people, and all the limitations that are present now are linked only to security issues. No limitations on the range of products. It's all linked to security issues. Mike, could you please speak to the mic? Again, limitations for supply are linked to security measures. Yes, this is not the issue of the limitation of trade, not about specific categories of goods and commodities. It's about the ability to use the transportation and to provide for the security of the movement of people. Of course, the security situation influences the trade in these territories.
I mean, so as you're saying, as far as the Ukrainian government's concerned, trade, the only limitations on trade is one of security.
Sure, так.
Because all of a lot of the coal mines in the Donbass area are saying that they're going to begin selling internally or exporting to Russia. Is that also to do with security concerns, or is that more of a politically motivated?
Щодо позиції тих, тобто щодо цих позицій.
Well, we cannot be sure about these specific positions, but we will check this information and come back to you. Thank you, colleagues. Any other questions? No questions. Thank you, Taras. I remind you that our working day is not over. At 2:30 we'll have a briefing dedicated to Mariupol. There will be Diana Berg, Deputy Chairman of the NGO Розвиток Приазов'я, Maria Frey, host at the Mariupol TV channel, Evgen Chakov, volunteer